Music for the show by Jeff Smith, sound partner, and Hans-Peter Kagerud, publishing and Slack.
Sorry, Chris.
Who are you?
I'm HP, Hans-Peter.
Oh.
So it's HP Kagerud.
HP Kagerud.
Well, that's close enough.
I have mispronounced your name for 14 years.
I know.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, let's just begin the show. Today's episode is supported by Photo Plus. Join the photography and videography community at Photo Plus 2019, October 24th to 26th at the Javits Convention Center in New York City. This 3-day photography and videography event exposes you to everything you need to improve your business and hone your craft. Get your hands on the newest gear from leading brands and hear practical tips during interactive sessions led by well-known experts directly in their booths. Visit photoplusexpo.com and use promo code TOPFLOOR to register for free. This is Tips from the Top Floor, episode 878 for September the 12th, 2019.
Tips from the top floor, tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey, hello and welcome, it's Chris Marquardt, another episode of Tips from the Top Floor. And yeah, you heard him right at the top of the show. A very special guest in the house today, and you all know him? Or at least you know a song that he recorded about 20 years ago. Here's a little hint. Yep, and while I wanted to get him on this podcast for the longest time, I expected it to be maybe like a 10 or 15 minute discussion about music. But when he showed up, when we finally talked, all of a sudden time was flying and it turned into this delightful 45 minutes about life, about creativity, and how it all connects in our internet-fueled culture. So I'm really happy we talked, and you're in for a treat. Before we get to the discussion, I'd just like to quickly point you to another podcast that I was a guest on, and that's the Behind the Pod podcast by DJ Podgorny, where he and I talk about generating revenue in the age of podcasting. And it's a really, really interesting discussion, both about my history and a bit about his. And this is available as an audio podcast and also as a YouTube video. So I had a camera on me. You'll find the links to both of those in the show notes. And also I've just recently received a question. Hey, is your show available on platform X, Y, or Z? I get these all the time. So I've spent some more time getting tips from the top floor on even more platforms. So in addition to your favorite podcatcher, which is probably how you're listening to this right now, you can also listen to Tips from the Top Floor on of course, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Spreaker, on Google Podcasts, even on YouTube. This show, get a copy with just not a video, but you can use YouTube to listen to it. Especially, some people seem to like that because it is available and some other things are blocked where they work, that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's out on pretty much any platform you can imagine. So you can get to the show wherever you like. Links to all those are in the show notes, of course. And now we finally get to HP Kagerud, I think is how it's pronounced. Anyway, here we go. Okay, here we are. I have the man on the show that you all know. You've heard his work on almost every single episode of this podcast. I know there are some of you who are very particular about his work, or rather about one single song that he has written. And I think not just written, performed, recorded, and produced. At one point when I tried to change it, I received so much email that I brought it back right away. I'm, of course, talking about the man who is responsible for the Tips from the Top Floor closing theme. Don't matter where you go. Hans-Peter, or HP as you call yourself, which I just found out. Welcome to Tips from the Top Floor.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's just amazing. I mean, this is 14 years, right? I've been doing this show for 14 years.
Yeah, I was actually saying that to a friend of mine. It's been a while.
Your show, your song has been on the air for 14 years every week. Yeah, your sales must have been going through the roof because of my show.
A colleague of mine said the other day that the internet is almost full.
Yes.
And remember that when I released this song, I was actually one of the first artists in Norway to use the internet as a distribution platform. And what I discovered quite early, which everyone discovers now, is that there's no money in the internet when you get streams or stuff like that. So,
And we're not
there's
just
a lot
talking. We're not just talking about Spotify. We're just talking about the general internet being the general vehicle for releasing things.
Well, that particular song, Don't Mind Where You Go, and all the other stuff that I released is available on, I think, about 60, 70 or 80 different streaming services. So it's everywhere where you might want to listen to your music, but it doesn't generate any big money. The big money is still in radio and sales.
Radio sales, and if you're famous enough in touring.
Yeah, and touring, of course. And to be frank, when I do tour a bit and I do play my own songs, and that gives you money. But streaming, however, not so much.
So we're still fighting the fight of getting the names out and everything. Sometimes it helps to be early, to be on among the first to do something, like with podcasting. This 2005 when this started, and I was looking for some theme packaging of the podcast, and I remember finding Don't Matter Where You Go, and I remember sending you an email. I still have these old emails somewhere in my old Gmail box. And you were so gracious to allow me to use them, and it's been on there ever since. And
No, but I would presume that you're not in it for the money either. You're doing it because you love photography. And for me, that if you listen to that song, it's a breakup song, naturally.
That's what I when I listened to the lyrics, which took me a while to actually listen to them because I'm German, and so I listened to it for the music, and it's a hymn, right? It's this thing you can sing along, and it has a very powerful chorus. But yeah, it's about a guy, or is it about a guy who's breaking up with his girlfriend?
I'm a huge fan of communication, so most of the stuff I write, it tends to be personal. So when I'm stuck with someone who is unable to communicate, that will most likely tick me off, which this one particularly did. So it goes to say that 2 years after that song was released, I was divorced.
Whoops. Okay. Oh, this goes much deeper than I expected.
It goes quite much deeper, but still, you're not in it for the money.
Yeah.
Of course, when I started out with that particular album that song is from, it was with the intention of getting discovered or maybe getting a record deal.
Of course.
Because back then it actually meant something to have a record deal. Now it doesn't mean nothing. So anyone can get it. So I have a decent publishing deal now. So everything I release goes out to every corner of the world, and the streaming numbers are quite decent. I mean, I'm passing 500,000 streams now as we speak. So I'm not complaining, but I'm not in it for fame or fortune or anything. I'm in it because whenever you take a photography and you succeed with getting the lights right, getting the object right, and you were there at that particular time and moment in time where you captured something amazing, then the feeling you get afterwards is so fulfilling. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with making music. It's the same thing with making anything. If you're a painter or you're a composer, if you manage to capture the moment in time, then it gives you sort of a feeling that is amazing.
Yes, I'm totally with you. And the interesting thing is the income that I don't make a lot of on my own photography. It's a lot of it is from the periphery. It's from maybe a sponsorship deal on the podcast or some photo tours that I do that the podcast kind of helps as a promotion platform, which was never originally the intention. It just happened over time. So it's really interesting how this whole thing played out. And I think both you when you started in music and I with the podcasting is we both started at a time when there was huge change ahead, and we fell right into that change.
Yeah, so the good thing is that we were able to communicate with the world in an easier way. The less good thing is that we don't make any money out of it.
But we're happy. That's important.
But we're happy, and it's the feeling of getting things done. Yes. And for me, making music is the same thing as it's exactly the same thing as taking pictures, because it's a timestamp. It's whatever you experience that particular day or something that affects you, and you create a timestamp. A picture would be a more clear manifest of that, because you can see a picture says more than 1,000 words, right?
Well, but a song too, right?
A song, if you dig deeper into it and you connect to the how the song plays, and then the lyrics, and then the mood. So it's basically the same thing. It's just a different way to do it.
Mm-hmm. So just briefly back to the song "Don't Matter Where You Go," because it is so ingrained with Tips from the Top Floor. The song itself is, I think, now 2019. It must have about its 20th anniversary. It's 20 years old.
Yeah, it's about 20 years old. I think I wrote it in 98, 99 or so.
I think it was, I just did some research. You had an album out in 1999. This is the time where this was on. So when I found it, it was already 5 years old. So for you, this is really this time capsule that takes you back to that time.
Yeah, and that particular album was a lot of songs when I really attempted to get somewhere with my music, and the ambitions were perhaps a bit higher than they should have been.
I wanted to be a rock star. I'm a bass player. I used to be on stage a lot, but it's never really panned out to become a rock star.
But I was fortunate enough to tour with people who were at the top, and to be frank, it's not that big a deal. You get to play, but you don't earn that much money. You get to be on the stage. You get to be idolized because they don't know who you are, and you're with the stars on stage. But nevertheless, I would actually be honest and say to create music for myself is much more rewarding than standing on stage with the current number one. Well, because the ladder to success, it never stops. It's the craziest thing when you produce things and you have success. Then you'll always be measured to your previous success. So if you do something that is equal as successful as the last thing you did, then you're not successful anymore.
Right.
Which is quite peculiar, because if you do anything as good as you did it last year, that should be rewarded, right? But it's not. Not inside art, because you have to develop all the time. So where does it end?
Well, you have to come up with something new. You have to reinvent yourself and then reinvent yourself again.
And where does it end?
Yeah, I know. I know. It ends at a point where someone else will come along and do something that's even more amazing, and then
yes, and then you are yesterday's news, which means
forgotten.
that yes, and so that means that it is a road to Neverland, really.
Mm.
So yeah, we all have dreams and we would like to be successful, but success is a bit uphill because
But success is also very, very. Let's say today we have all these pockets, all these bubbles where things happen inside, and you can be the biggest fish in a small pond and still feel really good about it. You know.
Absolutely.
We'll be back to the discussion in just a minute, but first a quick word by our sponsor, Honeybook. When you dreamt of starting your business, did you dream about all those admin tasks like drafting proposals and contracts and tracking down payments? If that wasn't part of your vision, you need Honeybook. Honeybook is an online business management tool that organizes your client communications, booking, contracts, and invoices all in one place. Honeybook makes it simple to run your business better. Professional templates, e-signatures, and built-in automation keep everything on track. And Honeybook can even consolidate services you already use like QuickBooks, Google Suite, Excel, MailChimp, and Gmail. No wonder it's the number one choice for client and business management for freelancers and business owners. And right now, Honeybook is offering you, the listeners of Tips from the Top Floor, 50% off when you visit honeybook.com/topfloor. Payment is flexible and this promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. Go to honeybook.com/topfloor for 50% off your first year. That's honeybook.com/topfloor. Back to the discussion. So, what else is going on in your musical life? What else has happened since?
I'm releasing albums almost every week. No, not every week, but I released 2 albums last year. One was a mastodon of an album. It was with 30 songs. It's in Norwegian though, but it was like I felt that I wanted to get those songs like wrapped up and finished. And then I released a very successful album called Nightwatch, which was an ambient. If you like Evangelis or Jean-Michel Jarre, or
I felt a bit like Jean-Michel Jarre sometimes, just a little bit. Or where was Liquid Courage? The song Liquid Courage on?
Yeah, that's not from the Nightwatch.
That's from Nightwatch. Yeah, when I listened to that, I had this interesting kind of flashback, just a little bit.
Yeah, so that's and I'm completely unable to put myself in a genre or any type. So when I released just last week Daywatch, which is, you might presume, the follow up to Nightwatch, it is still an instrumental album, but that's from the other part of my musical childhood. When I was a kid, I grew up, I would listen to Evangelis and Jean-Michel. And later on, I would be a big fan of M83, if you know them.
I heard of them, yes.
Yeah, they made the music for the movie with Tom Cruise, the Oblivion, amongst others.
Okay.
Done a lot of music background music for Top Gear. They like to do huge soundscapes. And I'm a fan of that. So that's how Nightwatch evolved. But on the other hand, when I played in a band, it was almost like sports, you know, if you could find something really difficult to play.
Right.
So it would be like Mezzo Forte from Iceland, Level 42,
yes.
Koinonia, Spyrogyra, and stuff like that, which is quite hard to play. And it's completely different. So it's like jazz rock, smooth jazz with odd figures and complicated riffs. So now I've done that. Currently, I'm working on 2 different stuffs. One would be a sort of pop follow-up to This Is the Time, the same kind of, which is pop songs. And the other one would be more progressive again, which is, but they all evolve from the same stuff. It's just when things go progressive, it's more like in the likes of Yes, Porcupine Tree.
Right.
But when it's pop, it's again 80s pop where I grew up.
Same here.
And so, and I got a couple of singles that I released earlier this summer, Mr. President and 88, which is a hymn to going back to 88. So, but I don't feel like being stuck in one place. So, and I'm learning the guitar pretty heavily now.
It's never too late to improve on anything.
For the first time in my life, in actually 35 years, I'm single. I've never been single before in my adult life. So I have a lot of spare time. So I'm sitting with the guitar in the evenings and rehearsing riffs.
A lot of practicing.
Yeah. So
yeah, I see that. I see that with photography on my side as well. That I've never had the feeling that now I have arrived It's always something more to learn. And I mean, it's the same with music. And with photography, I open up a door into a new genre or something, or a new technique, or a new kind of camera or something. And then that turns out to be a huge endeavor. And then I dive into that, and it never gets boring. And it's the same with music.
But it seems like people would like to put you in one spot and say that's what you do.
Of course.
But
we do this with other people, don't we?
Yes, of course. It's a natural thing.
Yeah, it's very natural.
I mean, if you can you think about it? Now it's a much wider perspective. But back in the 80s and the 90s, if let's say a movie star wanted to sing.
No.
No, stick to what you do.
You know, back in the 70s when I was a child, there were like soccer players recording albums. And that was unheard of and horrible, by the way. They were not good singers.
Yeah, well, I remember Andy Cole's single. It was terrifying. But, I mean, take Patrick Swayze when he did the She's Like the Wind.
Right.
It is actually a good song.
Yeah.
But it was so bashed at the time.
Did he write it?
Yeah.
He wrote it himself, okay.
And he sang it. It's a great song. And of course, now he's dead, so nobody can say that it was a good song.
It's too late, though.
It's too late, though. And it's the same thing when if a singer wanted to be an actor. And we tend to say that, why? You're a singer.
I think, though, that there is now, I think now people have more permission to be more things than just one. I mean, just looking at Donald Glover, for example, Childish Gambino, he's a musician, he's a great actor, he's a great musician. I think that maybe the internet has changed that perception a bit, at least, or something.
Yeah, it made the world smaller in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
Take Justin Timberlake, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought when you started out with NSYNC that he would be the not only an actor or a great artist, but also one of the most celebrated hosts of Saturday Night Live,
right? As
a comedian.
Yeah, it's wild.
So let's just do stuff when we feel like doing it. If it's inside you, get it out.
And we have the vehicle to get it out, and that's important because that has really changed everything. Not always to the better, but it has changed everything.
No, but it's a question of how do you feel.
Right.
In Mosjøen here where I live, we have the longest stone stairs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing arena for taking pictures. We have Sherpas from Tibet, mm-hmm. who has built a stairway to the top of the mountain. It's 3,000 stairs.
Wow.
Steps, sorry.
Yeah.
And you can actually, in quite small shoes, you can actually walk to the top of the mountain, which is 813 meters above sea level. And people take pictures. They post it everywhere, Instagram, wherever.
Sure.
So I forgot where I started out with this.
I have this realization that everything is coming full circle at one point or another, and this is the case where you're from Norway. I have just a few years ago discovered my love for the area. When I was up in Lofoten in February, we almost met because you live just, I don't know, a couple of 100 miles south from that.
Oh, it's a bit further than that.
Oh, but it's still close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, in today's terms, it's still close. It might be kind of curvy to drive down there, but it still is.
It's 4 or 5 hours by car. So,
right.
but we don't have the roads that you have in Germany.
Yeah, well then. I could have taken the ship, I guess. But this is the one thing that this is coming full circle. You're just telling me about the stairs having built by Sherpas from Tibet. I've been there. I have friends in Nepal, Sherpa friends. So there's a lot of coming full circle everywhere.
And well, it's peculiar also that something as trivial as building stairs. If you walk those stairs and you think about that, these stairs have been built by men with their hands and a spear. And we complain about sitting in an office, getting tired eyes by watching a widescreen monitor.
Yeah. Something is weird.
Something is definitely weird. And I don't know.
I think we're just getting older and a little bit wiser over time.
Well, I'm not getting political here. There is a single from HP Kagerud though. It's called Mr. President. I'm not saying which president, but it's gonna be huge.
Okay.
And if you think about the world we are having, where political statements can be like that, and this is where we are.
Yeah.
I'm saying just embrace what you do, embrace the possibilities you have. Don't be that concerned about general success. Success might be what you experience and the feelings that you treasure, that your own personal success.
So, musically, what changed for you over the last 15 years?
Biggest change would be that, of course, the studio has been reduced from being a huge bunch of gear to being a powerful Mac and a microphone.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm quite productive, so I have to learn the bass and the guitar and some drums to do stuff that I usually would hire in people to do or program. So it sounds much more live. I'm not a tremendous guitar player, but if I do take the time, and then again you have the tools like you have with pictures, you can edit and you can remove stuff and you can fix it and move it a bit so it's in the right place. You can do the same stuff with music. So for me it's been more of a question of finding myself, and with finding myself I also found out that I'm a split personality. As you say, on the left side you have Jean-Michel, and on the right side you have a heavy dude playing progressive rock from the 70s.
So let's step away from music for a second, because this is, after all, a photography show. Does photography play any meaningful role in your life?
Absolutely. I did. I remember vividly when I bought my first digital camera, and you had the opportunity to see your pictures straight away on the back of the screen. This must have been, I think,
2000s.
in the beginning of the 2000s. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you evolved to the place we are now, where you have a smartphone which have cameras that are way over the first digital.
Isn't it
ones.
amazing how smartphones have come along? They are taking the bread. They're taking the lunch of the big corporations right now. Big time.
They are.
Yep.
And they are even taking better pictures than some cameras does, because they are basically lying, because they have filters, and so you can adjust stuff to and I just did that. I was up the stairs that I was telling you about, and I took a picture of a rainbow. It's on my Instagram account, by the way. So and there was a rainbow coming down, and then I tweaked the filters, so it looks like there's a huge black stormy cloud coming, which it really wasn't. It was a cloud, but it was an interesting cloud. But with the filters, it looked dramatic. And this gives people opportunity in the same way as music. To everyone can be a photographer. Everyone can be an artist.
Very, very true. Very true. And it's putting a lot of power into people's hands. When you talked about the recording and the music technology changing over time, we're seeing the same thing there. If you need a microphone and a smartphone, and you can record an entire album with that.
You can. There are albums built with GarageBand from Apple. It's doable. Yeah. It's actually doable from scratch, and they can take the album cover image with their smartphone. it's creepy, really.
Excuse the interruption, we'll be right back after these words. This episode is also supported by Photo Plus. You've established a solid career, but these days it can be tough to shine among growing competition. What are you doing to make sure you're up to date with the latest trends, technologies, and techniques? Register for Photo Plus 2019. This 3-day photography and videography event exposes you to everything you need to improve your business and hone your craft. Get your hands on the newest gear from leading brands and hear practical tips and tricks during interactive sessions led by well-known experts. Exhibitors host education sessions directly in their booths. Topics cover everything from lighting, composition and design to image capture, retouching and storage, and better promoting yourself and your work. No matter your specialty, you'll connect with peers and creative leaders and gain access to a full spectrum of technical and tactical knowledge to put into action right away. Your competition continues to elevate. Take the time to invest in your craft. Join the entire photography and videography community at Photo Plus 2019, October the 24th to 26th at the Javis Convention Center in New York. Visit photoplusexpo.com and use promo code TOPFLOOR to register now for free.
It's creepy, really.
It's it is, and it will not, that development will not stop. It will same when I started with my tiny music career. I did a lot of recordings back then, and I came out of this what was called back then the home recording movement, right? Where it was just the beginnings of that, where the big studios were still around. But I managed to replicate a lot of what they did with just a PC and an external recording card and some plugins and things. And that was the beginning of that. And then we all witnessed lots of studios dying and a lot of the old big gear being available for cheap all of a sudden. Same has happened in photography, where a lot of the old medium format analog cameras, the big Hasselblads and stuff, another Swedish product, came into the used market. They were very affordable and available all of a sudden, which changed a lot of things for a lot of people. So, where do I send people? You said you're on 70 different streaming platforms. Does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? No matter where you go?
Don't matter where you go, you'll find me everywhere. And I hate to admit that my music is made in my bedroom. I built a studio that I abandoned in 2003. When I sold the house, I built a big studio with all the facilities, as you were stating. But now it would have been redundant anyway, because there's no need for it.
It's, again, the same in photography. Those big studio spaces are going away because it's on demand. Wherever you are, you can set up a studio now.
Yeah. So everything is getting smaller. Technology is it's helping us, but it's kind of the same thing as it is in my daily job, where I work with the internet and technology as well. And it's neat to be one of those guys who actually knows what all the auto magic stuff is doing, because you press a button and everything happens. But since I've been a part of building it, I know what happens in the background. And one day, things may stop working. Then it would be great to have guys like you and me around that actually remembered how is it actually done when it's not automatic or automagic. I mean, if you want one recommendation, like a real-time capsule, you go to YouTube and there is a 10-minute video about when 10cc recorded what's the song called? I'm Not in Love. You know that one?
I'm pretty sure when I hear it, I know it.
It's a really, really huge hit from 75. And I'm not going to do any spoilers, but by watching that, you get the recognition that when people recorded stuff or took photos before, they had to know what they were doing.
Oh, yes.
You see some of the same stuff in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie about Queen. The challenge of being in a studio, making things sound the way you want it. Now you can just do a plugin and then you have it. But things haven't always been like this. Steve Lukather from Toto said that when they did the mix, they would be like 4 or 5 people controlling 10 faders each with 10 fingers. So it would be a live thing. I have a friend of mine.
It was a performance on the mixing board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine was with Bruce Sweden on a workshop in Los Angeles. Bruce Sweden was the one who was a tech at Thriller by Michael Jackson. And try to guess how many different mixes did he have of Billie Jean?
100?
83.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm totally not surprised. And you used to see this even in photography when a photographer is in the darkroom making a print of a photo and he does burning and dodging, and then that version doesn't come out as they wanted. They do the exact same thing. It's a performance. It's like a dance in front of the projection of the photo until you get it right, and that could mean to repeat the same thing 10 or 20 times.
But how do you make a perception of 83 different photos or 83 different mixes that are almost the same?
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
But what do we do now? What do I do now when I do a mix? Did a mix of a song yesterday.
Yeah, you have an undo. You can just
no, yeah, but I just do an MP3, put it in my Dropbox, and then I have like what I would call 10 different listen stations.
Right.
I have my car. I have my headphones. I have the ones that I'm using now. I have a Bose here at my office. I have 2 different hi-fis at home. Different stations where I listen to the same song from my Dropbox.
Just to make sure it sounds good everywhere.
Yeah, and if I want to do a change, I just go into the digital interface, do a small adjustment, and do a new bounce. And then, so it's like, I feel like cheating really when you look at these videos from the 70s and 80s where they actually had to know what they were doing.
Yeah, but us childs of the 80s will always feel like that's cheating. I think anyone who's growing up now doesn't perceive that as being cheating. It's just
everyone growing up now, they don't know how it was like to live without internet.
Yeah, we didn't know how to repair a plow, you know. So
that's true.
I think one thing when you talked about the automatic and put a filter on it and everything's good. I think we still have one thing going for us, and that is that the automatic systems, be it photography, be it music, the automagic systems where you press a button and everything happens and is wonderful. Those still do not know your intention, what you want. I mean, in photography, I can say I want a silhouette and the camera will brighten it up because that's not what people want, and then you do not get a silhouette. But if you have a creative intent to do something, those systems can still not sense your intent, and this way they can still not really do what you want them to do in most cases. And that is still, I think, a good thing, and that goes for us. I think we are doomed in the moment when those systems can read our minds and really know what we want to do.
It's, everything is artificial.
And then everyone is creative because it takes a lot of the skill out of it.
Yeah, it does. But then one moment, no, it's not. Let's say that the day that when these systems fail,
then we are really effed. Yeah.
Then they will come back to us and say, Chris, how do you do it?
Yes. Oh yeah. I
then
hope.
You will be like Yoda.
No. Then I will be too old and I will have forgotten everything. You know.
Chris Marquardt would be like Yoda, saying, "Like this, what you need."
Yes. Okay. So, on behalf of everyone listening to this show and everyone who has listened to it for more than one episode, I just want to thank you for letting me use "Don't Matter Where You Go" as the outro on the show. I know it's not nice to talk over it, but it's such a nice fit, and I know that people are singing along. So I guess
they can get it anywhere they like and then listen to the whole part of it. And
Which
maybe
is
they like it, they can listen to some of the other stuff as well.
And I would highly recommend that on the. I will still, even though you're everywhere, I will still put links to your Instagram and to your homepage and stuff in the show notes so everyone can follow along. Thank you so much for your service to the show. This is just an amazing part of it. It's part of the history of this show.
And you're so welcome. I kind of like it, and I use you. I saw that you were actually included in Wikipedia on the article about me as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's only in Norwegian though, but.
There we
says
go.
there the song is actually on a photo podcast called Tips from the Top Floor.
Very cool. Are there any other podcasts that use any of your music that you're aware of?
Not that I know.
Not that you know. Well, okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show and shedding some light on the backgrounds of this. This was a really good discussion. I really liked this. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And that was it for this episode. And I really enjoyed this. Thanks again, HP, for coming on the show. This was awesome. And of course, thanks to all of you out there who support the show, and especially the patrons who donate $1 per episode or more. That's the following 45 wonderful people: Jeremy Kervin, Jeffrey Block, Alex Kroser, Bernhard Goldbach, Daniel Herdrich, Ken Davidson, Leslie Ridlin, Marco Binder, Matt Armstead, Peter Morrow, Scott Wurzel, Tom Stewart, Eran Pinasov, Stu Silverman, Alan Bruce Horn, Andrew B., Anthony, Bartek Bosky, Chad Lee Cluck, Chandra, Christopher Greenhill, Dave Smith, David Recht, En Kyong, Francesco Scaglione, Greg Anastasi, Holger Krupp, James Trimble, Jim Caldwell, John Donahue, Josh Hopko, Just Me AMR, Ken Berrien, Kyle Nishioka, Marvin Aaron, Michael Grunert, Peter M. Spradling, Rob Duber, Robert Goshko, Ryan Gilio, Sina Farad, Steven Sandler, Thomas Nielsen, Trevor Palmer, and Woody. Thank you so much for your support. To become a member of this group, go to tfttf.com/Patreon. Thank you so much. And of course, music for the show by Jeff Smith, sound partner, and HP Kargerud, publishing and Slack challenges by Reese Pixie, Matt, Rapsiter Armstead, Slack invitations by Chief Invitation Officer CIO Rusty Russ. And the link to the Slack is tfttf.com/yslack, and it's also in the show notes. My name is Chris Marquardt. You'll find me on social media at Chris MarQuardt. Go out and take amazing photos. Share them with the world. Be nice to each other. And happy shooting.
I remember